Hey guys, Brandon here. Today we'll do a little bit of knob turning on the 2C++ reissue. Feel like I didn't really do that in my last video, so show a little more what the amp is capable of. And then at the end, I said this in the YouTube comments of my last video, I'd give you guys my actual thoughts on the reissue versus the original, all that stuff. So we'll go ahead and pan out, zoom in on the amp so you guys can see what I'm actually doing to it and all that stuff. And if you like the content, subscribe to it. At the end of the video, I'll give you my thoughts on the reissue versus the original. All right, let's do it. All right, guys. So in the first time from me making videos, I forgot to press the recording button on my interface, which is super cool because I've been playing for like the last 15 minutes recording it. So we'll go ahead and start this over. So let's go from the beginning. So I know all the guys talking about the oscillation. That volume's at 10. I like putting it at 9 personally. The drive is at like 7 right now, and it's not oscillating. If I put the gain up a little bit more, I'm sure. Let's find out. So there it is. So if you're real concerned about that and want to run your gain to that extent, it will oscillate. I wouldn't with this amp. That's just not what I would go for with this amp. If I was trying to do something like super clanky, I would reach for many other amps before this one. So there you have it. It does do it, but it's not a big deal to me. So let's move on from that. I'm going to put this back where I like it here. You can hear the bride engage there. I like that one pushed in. Let's hear the treble setting, which is going to push the front end. So it gets floppy, nasty. Again, personally, I like this between 7 and 8. If I was double tracking guitars, probably leave it at 7. Just while it's here, me playing by myself, we'll keep it set just how it is right there. I like that. And hear the shift. I like that shift pulled. Definitely makes the amp a little more aggressive. Bass and middle, you're getting the same thing. Front end of the amp, which is why they sound like crap if you turn them up. So let's hear that. I'll just show you guys what it does. Rumbly, not good. Dial it back to right here. Middle, same kind of deal. I know Metallica commonly has theirs set at like 4. We can hear what that does. So yeah, it adds a little bit back of what's taken out. Oh, I forgot to do the pull shift on the bass. Let's hear that. That's one I like pushed in for sure, not pulled on the shift there. The deep one, I go back and forth on. So you get a lot more low end pulling that deep, but consequent, consequentially, you have to lower the 80 hertz slider down a bit. Otherwise, it just becomes too much. Like in the room, it gives a cool sensation, but you put a microphone on it and it sounds terrible if you crank that up. It just does. So we'll engage it and then I'll raise the 80 hertz because if it's pushed in, then you need to compensate for that and then you can raise the 80 up. So it's kind of like dealer's choice with that one. So let's hear it. All right, so I mean, like I said, dealer's choice on that one. You know, head always ran it with the deep pulled, at least in every picture I've seen engaged. But when you push it in, if you ride that 80 hertz slider up pretty high, almost all the way up, like sounds pretty nasty to me. Sounds girthy. So let's go ahead, lower that back down as I had it set. We'll pull that again. All right, try the bright cap. That's another one you can kind of go back and forth on. I like it pushed in there, but you could pull the bright and then compensate for it, pulling down your other sliders or maybe your presence. Presence is on the back. I usually run it at 4.5 to 5 and just kind of leave it there on these amps. I experimented a ton and that's kind of where I like it sounding best. Let's hear this real quick, the drive. Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, I like riding it at about 7. Otherwise, it gets too much. You start pushing it a little too much, which, I mean, the originals don't oscillate, but you can tell, like, it's too much. These amps were made in the 80s. They were ahead of their time for sure. But, like, if you're wanting to do the modern clink thing, there's other stuff that is better for that. But that's not what we're doing today. We're doing Mark stuff. So let's play with the sliders a bit, hear what happens there. So absolutely thin. You see how finicky those are for sure. Just like any other Mark series. These are super sensitive. I mean, yeah, man, I like running my knobs like that. I mean, I just gravitate towards the same thing. You can hear, um, you know, it's not going to be exactly the same, but I like riding those sliders there because I don't like having a ton of like that low mid content because you're just going to wind up sucking that out later. But the 80 hertz to me sits best there with the pull deep. Again, you can push it in and then kind of raise it up to compensate for that, but this setting just works to me. Let's go over to 750, which is the warmth knob or the honk knob. Let's hear it. So, I mean, that knob is definitely like the Lamb of God kind of thing. I love Lamb of God, but that kind of tone drives me bonkers. Like it just says, let's lower it down. So this is something that's different from the original. It's like, to me, you can scoop it out further than the original. Let's hear that. So to me, like, I'm not A-Bing it right now, but like that's where the original ends to me, is right there. Let's take it further. So you can hear, just does tiny bit more there, which is cool, man. Like if you want that more scoop sound, there you have it. Let's see what the high end. So you can see totally darkens the amp up. I'll raise the level just so you guys can like kind of hear what it's actually doing, because I'm sure that's just sucking it out. So cool in the room sensation, just dark and big, but you're going to want that content back in there to cut. So let's turn this down so I don't get my ears blown off. Truthfully, I like these, you know, just set before the line here, but you can hear, I'll raise them up. Like that's just a little bit too much to me, at least sitting here. Maybe in a mix, it might cut. You would have to trim off like the super high end, of course. You know, you're not going to want like anything past 12K recording guitars, really. But yeah, let's lower that down a bit. Sounds pretty good right there, pretty mean. yeah, I'm just having fun screwing around now. All right, guys, let's get to this last section here. All right, so my final thoughts are this. These reissues are the closest thing that Mesa has put out to the original 2C Plus since the original thing. I know you have the 5, the JP2C, and the 7, but I mean, those to me were more like keeping the core sound and then introducing a new set of features. This is just like their attempt at almost a one-to-one recreation of the original amps. So I know the pentode wiring, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into details about that some guys have gotten into, cause maybe the reissues to be more tight than the originals. Maybe not. It feels a little bit tighter to me, honestly. You guys can make that call. You know, I've done the video shooting the two out back and forth. What I will say is the EQ curve on the originals is a bit more like warm, as guys would call it. So that mid-range 300 to 1200 hertz, there's a little bit more of that content for sure. It's a little looser, a little saggier feel. But to me personally, like a lot of that kind of content on the EQ spectrum, like I wind up cutting out. And I know people that have mixed the 2C Plus have cut that out too, because that like honky or one man's honky is another man's warm sits just kind of funky in a metal mix, or at least like thrash or death metal, the kind of stuff I play. You know, if you're playing like more hard rock or classic rock stuff, like I could see that being a total fit and guys digging it. But overall, to me, like there's some comments about it being harsh and stuff. It doesn't do that to me. It just cuts. It's good. And the 750 slider scoops out more than the original, but you can also raise it up and make it a little bit more warm or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I think that Mesa knocked it out of the park with these, honestly, and like guys getting mad about it or just like totally trashing them are completely in the wrong, or trying to protect their amps value, which it kind of just makes me laugh because like amps to me are a hobby and it's something I have fun with. They're not an investment to me. That's not how I treat them, because it's just something fun to me. But anyway, that's going to do it for today, guys. So I'll see you around. Thanks.